I was making the top that anyone was making in the country, and I hated every freaking moment of it. It was hell. It was hell. It was hell. When I was your age, kids, no, I'm not gonna do that. If you're within 10 to 12 years after graduating college and you're focusing on your career, you need to hear this. Do what you hate, love later. Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Well, what if you don't know what you love? What if what you love isn't a career or just can't make you any money? Why, when you're in your 20s, do you have to love your job? Why do you have to love everything? Why can't you find passion or love in your personal life? Why not reserve your work life for mastering a skill? Why does everything have to feel great now? This is terrible advice, but it's also going to set you up for failure. So this advice, do what you love, is garbage for most people. Okay, let me say it nicer. Do what you love applies to some, very few. Doesn't apply to most of us when we're picking our first 1 or 2 jobs. After college, when I started my career, my passions were not career worthy. I loved going to bars, going to restaurants, hanging out with my girlfriend, shopping for clothes, doing makeup, learning about hair trends, and just chilling out. There was no career in that. Sure, it was fun, but I had a good brain. I had a great education. My immigrant parents taught me the value of hard work. So I picked a job that used my unique skills, where I could make money, and I'd figure it out later. I did hate it in the beginning. I hated it for a long time, but the outcome, I grew into who I needed to be. It pushed my buttons in ways I didn't know needed to be pushed. It forced from me to emerge the talents that were inside. And hey, I ended up loving what I did. I made a lot of money. I worked with the smartest people. I saw innovation. I was intellectually challenged. I traveled the world. It was amazing. And had you told me in my 20s, I was gonna love reading balance sheets and P&Ls and going through financial statements and going to meetings and writing 400-page contracts, I would have told you you're an idiot. But that's what happened. And that's what happens, because in our 20s, we just don't know shit. Now, if you're someone with a burning passion and you know what it is, this video is not for you. If you're someone who wants to try your hand at luck because you're going to be that person that's going to start a yoga empire or be an Oscar-winning actress, go for it. There is value in that. It could happen. I just did not take that path. I did not have luck on my side. I did the terrible thing that you're taught not to do today. I did the hustle. I sucked it up. I did the hard things. And then it just turned into this gold mine that I fell in love with. This is just those that fall into my court who don't know that you want to wing it at luck to be one of the few to make it, or you don't have a passion. 1, don't look for easy early on. A career doesn't start out glamorous and fun in the beginning. It's gritty, it's scary, it's tough. You don't know what the hell you're doing. It's not always going to feel good. And in today's world, we're taught that everything has to feel good from day one. No, shit's uncomfortable. Think of a skyscraper. Before the shiny building is up with the windows, people are in the dirt building the foundation. That's what your career is like. 2, your passion isn't permanent. You think you have a passion now? You think you're going to love it forever? Maybe. But what if not? And you put your first decade of your career into that basket. I had a friend who after college loved yoga, and this was what she was gonna do. She didn't want to work at a desk job. Well, making a living at yoga was really, really hard. She thought she was gonna have this life of health and wellness, but she had to hustle so much to make a living. And in the end, she got so burnt out, she hated it. Or if you love baking, you may love baking and it may give you joy to see somebody eat your delicious pastries. But if you're starting a bakery and you have to wake up at 4 a.m. and make payroll and deal with vendors and argue with your landlord and deal with renovations, you may quickly not love the art of baking anymore. And so the things that you think you have passion for, if you make your whole life about it, it may not be a passion later on. 3, are you disinterested in your current job? Or do you hate your job? Or are you afraid you won't succeed? Very often, we tell ourselves we hate this job in corporate America because it's not for us. But really, we're afraid we can never reach the top. I'll give you an example. After law school, I graduated at the top of my class, and I had the ability to go into a large law firm, the ones that paid the most money from law school. And I hated every freaking moment of it. But the truth is, I didn't have the confidence to think from that first year where I was on this level that I would actually be able to be a rainmaker partner, making millions and opening up new offices, having my own firm. I could only see that place where I was at that moment. I didn't think I was good enough and smart enough to become a partner. This was subconscious. Of course, I didn't really think it, but I kind of was afraid that I wasn't good enough. If you get into a job that you hate, you're probably like I did, saying, I hate the environment, I hate the people, this is so not fun, blah, 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 it's awful, and all this stuff that I talked about. But I challenge you, put yourself into that job right now, close your eyes, and imagine yourself getting promoted, rising to the top, being a leader, running the company, being in charge. If you really thought that was a possibility, would you hate your job? So you're probably hating your job because you have unrecognized fear about it. Fear that you won't succeed. Fear that you're always going to be a low-level minion. 4, challenge your assumptions about that job. Are you making shit up in your head? For example, when I started my career out in law, I had said, well, there's no married women at the top. There's no married women with children. There's no married women at the top who have multiple children. I value my life, my family. I want to have many kids, and I'll always be a slave if I stay in this job. Is that true, or was I projecting something into the future that may never have happened? Yes, I found evidence of it because I've seen it happen to other people. But the truth is, I could have crafted my own path. I could have advocated for myself, which I later did. The world changes. Very often, we're making decisions today because we're assuming we know what it will be like in the future for us. None of that was true. And people tried to tell me that. The older male partners, when I tried to quit my job the first time, they said, it's not always going to be like this. Chill out. You're so good. You can have a family. You can have your quality of life. Just stay a little bit longer. And I said, they're crazy. I don't want to live like them. Well, had I stuck it out, I wouldn't have had to. It would have been different. You don't know what the future holds. So be careful when you're making decisions today about facts that you assume will apply to you 10 years from now. And actually what happened was, I ended up being one of the first people to negotiate a part-time arrangement. I worked 4 days a week at the time. That was unheard of. And later on, when I switched into finance, yeah, I did work really hard early on, but eventually I became the boss. And you know what? I scheduled everything around my convenience. If I had to leave early to go to a school play, I did. If somebody scheduled a meeting, I'd say, no, let's reschedule it. I began to have so much more control over my life. Yes, I was working a lot, but I had control over when and how. I couldn't see that in my 20s. Excellence breeds passion. Once I got good at what I was doing, once I got my groove, I started to like it a little bit more every year. I started getting better and better, and my voice started coming out. I realized I was learning leadership skills and I was good at leading people. I was learning public speaking skills, and people really loved the messages that I had to share. It really resonated the way I delivered it. And all of these things started happening where my skills were just improving, and all of a sudden the stuff that I thought I was always gonna hate and was so mundane became fascinating to me. I literally wanted to read this stuff on my days off sometimes. So maybe, just maybe, we stop chasing passion and we start chasing mastery of a craft. Think about a hobby that in the beginning, or a skill that in the beginning just sucks. When you first go to the gym and you start lifting weights, when you first learn how to play the piano, when you first start running, these things are torturous in the beginning. At first you hated it, but think of something that you eventually started getting good at, and then it became fun. Work can be like that. Once you get good at something, you gain confidence, and confidence makes it so much more fun. Confidence makes it so much more enjoyable. So focus on getting good. Don't focus on feeling good today. So don't focus on passion. Focus on mastery of a craft. 6, success buys freedom. Success isn't easy. It's a lot of work. It could be a hustle, could be sacrifice. But eventually, when you succeed at what you do become the boss and you do have freedom. Either you've saved money and you could say, I'm out of here, I'm gonna go follow my passion of yoga now. Or you don't have to kiss ass to a boss because you know you have these skills, you can go somewhere else. You're not as much a slave to being afraid of your paycheck because you have the skill and mastery under your feet and it gives you a sense of freedom. It doesn't come until you put in the work to become successful and good. 7, life is not about loving what you do right now. The true purpose of life at work or in your personal life is about your growth. We all have growth that we need to experience. And the very nature, the very foundation of growth, it's something you don't know. It's an unknown. You can't predict. So when you try to make these permanent decisions about your career years down the line based on what you know now, it's just illogical. Growth happens in the uncomfortable. Growth happens in the unknown. I had all of these skills inside of me that in my 20s, I had no idea I was going to be good at creating a team, at hiring, at motivating people. These were just not things that were in my frame of reference. But by doing the tough work, other things emerged that I was good at. I didn't always love what I did, but the growth is where the gems inside of me came out. Pressure makes diamonds. All of you have diamonds growing inside. All of you. Just by virtue of you watching this video, I know that there is a leader. There is a successful person with passion. There is a person who's making great money and living the life of their dreams. But first you have to grow. And the only way to grow is to be in the unknown. So be careful when you're 23 years old and you're making permanent decisions. And 8, you're gonna love this. Nothing is forever. If you do that job you hate, master a skill, and after a while you say, absolutely not, I hate it, I'm out of here. You always have that choice. Sucking it up and swallowing that frog, like Brian Tracy says, or doing the things that you hate early on, doesn't mean you're always gonna have to do it. At some point, you could let go and say, fuck this shit, I'm out of here. But be careful when you say it. If you say it when you're 22, there's no going back. I mean, anything is possible, but it's harder. But if you do it when you're 35, it's possible that you can change course. Let me give you an example. My friend who did yoga after college, as wonderful of a career as it was, and she definitely touched people's lives, she couldn't make a living, and by 35, 40, she hated it. She wanted to leave. But by that point, going into hedge fund sales or technology was going to be much, much harder and probably wasn't a door that was open to her. But if she did that first, maybe she would have enjoyed it and found her groove. But if not, she could have then moved into yoga. Or in my example, I thought I didn't love math, finance, financials, accounting. I thought I liked more marketing type of things. But because I stuck with what I didn't like, I learned the industry that it was in. Personal finance, Wall Street, how to make money for the ultra high net worth client. Later on, I could go into marketing. I could go into investor relations. I could go into HR. I left options on the table. But if I went into marketing and turned out I didn't love it, it would be very hard to go into equity research later on. It's not about stepping down. It's about keeping doors open. So think about, what decisions are you making now that you can't unwind? Nothing is permanent, but do the hard things first. Don't listen to when people tell you, enjoy your life today, you don't know what the future holds, life is short, blah, blah, blah. No. In your 20s, you do the hard things first. So maybe, just maybe, you're not aiming what feels good right now. You're aiming for what's going to feel great later. Hate it now, love it later. Now tell me, what's one career question you have that you suspect you didn't get an honest answer to? Because you know I'll give you the truth.